A subduction zone is where one tectonic plate is being pushed into and is sinking or subducting underneath of another plate. As a plate sinks, it pulls really hard on the plate it is sinking beneath, and things can rip open in the overriding plate. These things that are ripped open are called basins. During the Pennsylvanian, a subduction zone off the coast of Nevada started pulling things back to the west and created another basin, this time on the west side of the Antler Highland. This basin is referred to as the Havala Basin. The Havala Basin was then filled with sediment that later turned into a thick sequence of rocks, now referred to as the Havala Sequence. The Havala sequence is host to a different type of ore deposit which hosts small amounts of copper and silver. These deposits are formed due to metals that are spewed out of black smokers. All the smoke that one sees coming out of a black smoker on TV, that smoke can have metals like gold, iron, or copper. Black smokers form underwater where magma is really close to the surface. If you look at the cross-section at the bottom of the screen towards the left, you can see the Havala Basin with arrows pointing in opposite directions indicating the basin was being pulled apart. When the crust of the earth gets stretched too thin, the mantle, which is the part of the earth where the magma lives, will be really close to the surface and will start to flow or vent out onto the surface. And this is what happened in the Havala Basin over 300 million years ago. Past production from a deposit of this type came from the Big Mike deposit. The Coronado project is just north of Big Mike and is actively being explored by geologists today. Both are shown together on this map. Compressional forces would pick up again later during the Pennsylvanian and would intensify and persist throughout the rest of the Mesozoic. This would result in something much bigger than the closing of the Havala Basin, the construction of Pangaea, a supercontinent where most of the land masses across the globe were smashed together, creating one gigantic landmass. So you can think of plate tectonics as a conveyor belt. If one plate is crashing into and subducting under another, any islands on that plate will be slapped onto the side of the plate it is crashing into. These terrains that are slapped onto the continent are called exotic terrains. Numerous exotic terrains were accreted onto the continent during the Mesozoic. In Nevada, 8 different terrains were added to the mass of the state, ruining oceanfront property every time they arrived. A generalized map showing these exotic terrains is displayed on the screen to the right of the red Nevada outline. Some of these terrains will be discussed soon. Before we move on, let's take a fact break. So if we look at the Earth's 4.6 billion year geologic history and scaled it to the calendar year, this is how it would look. During the last slide, we were looking at the late Pennsylvanian, which begins roughly on December 8th, which is National Brownie Day. And food for thought, the first fossil of a Homo sapien is dated back to 1 million years ago, or 11:02 p.m. on December 31st. Brownies were invented in 1893 in Chicago. That would be the last 0.54 seconds of December 31st, approximately 6 seconds after modern man had evolved.